Welcome back to Giro3 YouTube channel. In today's video we're having a look at a new project. This is an Emotator 1102 that I'm building up and refurbishing and upgrading. So basically the casings have been glass bead blasted inside and out, and the inside was then given a coat of clear to reseal it. And as you can see, I've used this, it's flaring out, I've used this hammer tone on the actual casing, so it looks a lot better than the old plain aluminium. Oh, and I've also done a little mod to this. I've put my grub screws in here. And look down from the inside, probably can't see it, maybe not. The grub screws protrude into the inside. That is to allow my replacement plug, because the ones that normally come with these things, I might actually show it going in. So basically the back of my plug, which is normally square, I've actually rounded off because the internals of this hole is round, and then I've put little scallops, cutouts, where the grub screws go. So basically we face that up, and then it will just locate with those little notches in there like that, and then we just put our lock nut on from the outside, and that is done. So basically that's what's going on with that. So let's take that back out again, put that back there. So that's the LTW Amphenol plug that I'll be using on this one, on this build. So the mask clamp has been glass bead blasted and etch primed and painted. This was a new old stock one I had, so being clear I decided to give it the once over. It was in really good condition because it was brand new, never been bloody used. So you know, all brand new stainless steel bolts and the clamps and everything all new, but I just decided to paint it because it would match the project I'm working on. Again, top housing was in really good condition on this one. Even the track on this one is in pretty good condition. So it's again glass bead blasted. The inside didn't get done because it didn't need it, and it has been etch primed and painted in this hammer tone that I'm using, epoxy hammer tone. The bearing ring slash brake ring, bearing slash brake ring. And you see there's a little bit of impacting here. Not a hell of... oh, it's probably flaring out. You probably can't see it. I should go that way maybe. So much light around here. Maybe I should have turned the other light on too as well. But whatever. I'll put more light out just to flare it out a bit more. So again, it was in really good condition. The inside was glass bead blasted, and I've recoated that in a clear just to reseal it. And the outside was done in hammer tone again as well. So just taking you through a bit of a run through on the things that I've done. The actual motor itself was in reasonable condition, but well, the outside is in reasonable condition, but the bearing was a bit the motor bearings, top and bottom, were a bit rough, so I replaced them and gave it a good old clean up, and it's now assembled with the gear back in position and the gear and the bits and pieces there. So put that back down there. The brake solenoid I've had for a while now, and I've rebuilt. This has got all re-zinc plated brackets and all new bolts, screws, and put through. So yeah, it's ready to go. I've also installed a removable socket, because these are a bit of a pain to put in sometimes. So that's just 2-pin plug, flat blades, which just go into there. This means I can put this in, then I can wire the plug, and then I can physically drop the rest of it in due course, and then just plug it in from the bottom. So basically that's got re-zinc plate parts on it. The bottom plate, sort of flaring out, that's been re-zinc plated, the actual locator for the brake wedge. The top had to be polished a little bit. It was a little bit rough, but it's shiny out, which is ours. So that's flaring out. And this one is flaring out as well. This is the little top cover. It's in good condition as well. Put them out of the road so they're flaring out. The bearing, the brake ring, I should say, is in. This is actual hard stop brake ring, which actually rotates around in, when I get it around the right way, which way the right way, that sits in there, and it's like a hard end stop for the and activator of the limit switch. Okay, the guides for the solenoid brake have been re-zinc plated, and I've installed 3mm self-clenching nuts into these, so they're easier to assemble. So you get your hands down inside to pump the nut and everything on. So because they sit, there's 2 screw holes, there's one there and one there. They sit inside and they guide and direct the actual. They don't allow the actual, I should say, don't allow the wedge to go back in too far, or pull in, so that makes it even. In that regards, so these are the brake wedges. As you see, they're in pretty good condition. Gave a bit of a polish up, and they're raring to go. The limit switches bracket has been re-zinc plated, replacement screws, and I've actually rewired. I'm going to be rewiring it slightly differently than how they originally had this. So that's happened there. Of course, the motor start capacitor, this will be actually mounted to a little bracket that I'll be putting in, which goes down under here. Once the motor goes in, I'll be going in there, and then I'll be wiring everything off that, so hence why this is already pre-wired. Just made it easier to get in and out, and because this normally sits like that and goes up through these 2 holes, so you can't lift it up too far. So a bit of a pain when you're trying to disassemble things, so you've got to try and get that out of the road first. So if I put it down low, then I can leave the wires loose, and I can actually do work on that easier, or if it needs to be. So new bits and pieces in here. Of course, there's a whole lot of bunch of there's your limit switch activator, and all the little brackets and nuts and bolts and stuff are sitting there, already cleaned up and everything. So getting to the actual gearbox assembly, I have basically dry assembled this to get my shimming right and spaces between all the gears right, because it is running one of my new replacement gear here, which I'll show you in a second. This top was re-zinc plated as well, so was the gear. So basically we can just lift that off now, if it wants to come off. It doesn't want to come off because I've already jammed it on too tight. That'll be about bloody right. Right, there we go. Right, so when off you come. Anyway, so I've got the wiring going down through the hole it's going to go through. And also note the potentiometer in this is a 500 ohm as opposed to a 600, and it's been rewired and new colour wiring because this will be using the new controller which you would saw in the previous video, which is the DS-1102RE Rotor-Ez, which has the Rotor-Ez in it. So in this here, all the gears have been cleaned up and everything. So this is the final drive gear onto the housing. I've got 2 shims in here just to pack it up off my little spacer block here, which I've installed. This shaft, and like all the rest of the shafts, has been fixed into position, and this actually it can't be moved off. It's been glued in position as well, so it makes it easier for servicing and whatnot. So this is the drive gear, which has been pinned. 2 extra roll pins in this one, just for that's what they normally do with the 1102s. But this gear was out of a 502, so basically I put the gear pins in. I went just a little bit too far on that one there, but it's roll pinned and double roll pinned. Now the new gear, I'll take my little spacer off. This is my new replacement gear for these rotators. Solid stainless steel, double thickness, with a recess on the bottom to accommodate the gear here, because you can't change your distances in here at all. So this was been done. I've done cutbacks on the gear. This gear here is like over double the thickness of these. As you can see, that's thicker than those. So this is normally just a single thickness, and they get chewed to pieces and worn out really badly. So I had this one designed, which we'll see in previous videos. So laser sintered 3D printed in stainless steel. So that's that gear. That's the M49 if I remember correctly. And we have the gear that drives that gear. Again, these are all in reasonable condition. Bit of a clean up, no probs. And this is the next drive gear. This is what actually is these. This is the. I'll start again. This gear, and this gear are what they normally change between the 502, 1102, and 1103. So in the 1103, this gear here is different because this small gear here. So they normally put in the 1103s a small pinion, which means this gear is a different one here. It's the same as that one, and that gives you a lower ratio. So in 1103, that's a different gear. This is what you would see in the 502s, and then they've just changed that gear and that gear with the different gear ratios, just to get higher rotation torque. Now, all these, as you see, these are the drive gear. So, the major thing I do with these chassis and shafts is I affix all the shafts into position. Now, they're hardened shafts, so it takes a bit to do it. I put longitudinal grooves by not a punch, I can't think of the bloody word at the present moment. Jesus Christ, I'm bloody hell. A wedge range, and I physically splay it out, and then they are pressed and glued back into position, and then the collars or spacers are actually glued in position as well. So that's what I do with these, just to stop these shafts, because when I got these shafts are just floating around. They are so loose. This one here I actually remade because it was so loose that even my grooves that I punched into it wouldn't take it up the slack. It was just flopping around everywhere because these shafts would spin, which then wears the aluminium out. Now, for some reason, I don't know why, this hole has a recess in it. For some reason, I don't know why they did it. This hole in there, it doesn't have one. Neither do these. I'll put that one in there, clean that up. But for some reason, they put a recess in there. I don't know why they all have it, but it just means that one wears really badly. It's just weird. So that's how that is. So these are all fixed. As you see, I can't move, rigid as anything, fixed, so we know that they're in the position they want to be in, and then basically it makes it easier for assembly and all that sort of stuff. So there we go. So that's the sub chassis, gearbox sub chassis. So basically I'm going to start the assemble process, getting grease everywhere and whatnot, and basically I shall be back with part 2, I would have a guess, very shortly. Bye. Okay, we're back for a quick update. Rightio, I have just installed the number 1 gear and the motor, because we need to get the backlash and everything right on this gear, so you need to be able to see it moving and feel it moving. So basically that is all done. It's been bolted on, screwed on, and I've actually put Loctite on each of these 4 screws in there. So this is all here ready to go. I've greased everything up, of course, and basically we'll be moving on into the next part. Catch ya. We're back for another quick update. I forgot to mention, now in each of the gears what I've done is I've put a counterbore recess in the top and bottom of these. They have a very slight one, but I put a bit more, which means you're going to contain a bit more grease in there over time, so it'll be more grease in there. So basically they've all got it. We've even done the new one as well in there, if it focuses, and the top as well. This one as well, so they've all got a countersunk rebate in them. This one you can see on the bottom there, so you'll have 2 rebates to rebate, which will have a bit extra grease in there for longevity. And this one has got a little bit one as well, so top and bottom. They don't move very fast, but the bottom ones do. Even this gear here has it as well, so it has a rebate on it as well. Just thought I'd mention that. There's another little thing I do to these to make them hang around for a bit longer. No worries, catch ya. Okay, we're back. Righto, I have greased all the gears except for the very final one. We can't put that in just yet, because I need to get all the rest of the stuff done here before we drop it in. Then we got to put the this ring in, and then that gear we've got to lift this up, take it off again slightly, drop the gear in, then put that in after this lock ring not lock ring, limit ring is actually put back in place. So basically, yeah, that's we're up to now. Just for your edification, I'm using molybdenum disulfite grease now on these, which is the same stuff used in CV joints on front-wheel drive cars, and it's a fairly nice light grease, and doesn't bind everything up. So yeah, so there we go. So that's up to that stage. I'm going to go and do all my wiring bits and pieces, limit switches, and whatnot, so and get the motor start capacitor on, all this stuff done, and then I'll be back. Okay, we're back. I have now wired the motor assembly, put the motor start capacitor onto my new little bracket, which means the whole thing can now, you'll see the wires are on an angle here, so the capacitor sitting here and limiting how much you can lift it up by. It's a lot easier to manoeuvre, and I've actually got the wires a bit loose in here, so you can lift this up as well for assembly purposes. So that's done. The socket I should say, is wired with the one going to the brake wedge, or solenoid I should say. As you can see, I've got all the limit switches all wired in. Potentiometer is all there. So as you can see, that's all done. I shall now go away, and I'm going to put the solenoid into the bottom of this and get everything done in there, and then I can drop this in. So okay, we shall see you in the next part. Okay, we're back. Righty-o, I have now installed the brake wedge, wedge solenoid I should say, and the end stops for the wedges themselves. The two of those. They sit in there, they just stop this from going too far in. And so when they pull in, they'll actually pull in together then, so when they both go to the end stop, they'll be the same. So there we are with that. There's a view from the bottom. Now the bottom plate will have to go in eventually, and that locates everything here. So yeah, that's what I've got to do sort of in the coming things. Not a problem. We shall be back shortly. I'm going to be putting motor and everything inside, and finishing the wire, well, plugging the wiring in and doing other bits and pieces as well. So we'll be back soon. Okay, rightio, we now have the motor assembly and gearbox mounted in. We have the plug all done up. A socket I should say, shouldn't keep calling it a plug. And I've also, the beauty of this little clip that I've got here, it actually slips over the actual bracket for the wedge, the solenoid. So basically it gets it out of the road, and I just had a bit of tweaking to be done to it, but it's all good, it's out of the road. And basically it just holds itself in position there. When you get it out, just flick it out and undo it. Better than having hardwired, you can actually get this out separately if you needed to. So not a problem. Okay, well, we're into there, so we're going to put the base on, and well, we can leave the base off for now, but we can actually do all the rest of the stuff to put the plates in, and basically we can move forward. And now I need to do some alignments and whatnot, so there we go, we're moving forward. Catch you soon. Okay, we're back. We're up to this stage now. We have I have installed the final drive gear. Well, first off, I put in the limit ring, and then the final gear went in. I've re-bolted the whole top, and as you see, the base plate is on. So basically, everything's working. So I'll do some more testing and do my alignments and checking with the rotator controller, and we shall be back. Righto, we're back. Okay, bearings are now installed on the top track. I have greased the ring gear in a sense, and the bearing track in here. I've also put in anti-seize into all the bolt holes in there, in the top housing, and the bottom housing has been greased. And I've also I've also put in anti-seize into where the bolts go through as well, because I will be using stainless steel, so we need to put anti-seize everywhere. So there we go. I'm going to now see if I can drop this top housing on, and then I shall be going away and putting the bottom set of ball bearings in, because I've got to turn the whole thing upside down to do it. So basically we need to, now from behind the camera, I've got to try and align everything. I've got alignment marks on it. On you go. There we go. That is now on. Okay, I shall be going away and I shall come back and show you the bottom half being done. Catch you soon. Rightio, we're back. Okay, I'm upside down now, top's on, and I'm going to load in the bearings into the bearing track. Now, one thing you don't do with steel ball bearings is touch them with your hands, because your oils and acids and stuff on your hands and fingers will start a rusting process. So I always use a pair of long nose pliers, and everything has been pre-greased in my tray, and I've moved them around with my paintbrush. I paint the track with a little artist paintbrush, and then I spread the grease around in the tray here, and basically then we load up the bearings with a pair of long nose pliers. These are just average ones. They've got a fairly wide end on them. So this is what I've been doing, because I've seen many people get there and do the loading the bearings this way, the wrong way. But also I used to purchase some bearings from some places, and they were actually coming from the supplier rusty. And I did a bit of a complaint and put a bit of an inquiry and said, okay, are they counting these and counting and weighing these by taking out the packet and counting by hand? And they said yes. Well, they can't do that. Everyone was counting by hand. They actually should be counted into bags. That's what I do when I get them in the 1,000 batches. I scoop them up with a scoop and pack them into bags of 50s. And basically that's how I use them, in bags of 50s. This one doesn't have 100 bearings, so I'm using 2 packs of 50s and leaving 10 in the packet. That those extra 10 will be put into a combination packet, but I will be not touching them at all. Less chance of having problems with grease and with rust and stuff getting onto the surface. So it's just how I should be doing things, but not a problem. And the grease I'm using is molybdenum disulfide. I think I may have mentioned this before. It's the same grease used in front-wheel drive cars in the CV joints. So it's a reasonably light grease, so it won't bind things up like, say, marine greases and stuff like that, which have a tendency of just grabbing hold of gears and bearings and slowing everything down and putting the motor in the rotator under a lot of stress. And if they've got motor's got a heat sensor in it, they will shut down. And then you're wondering why it stopped, and all of a sudden comes back to life again. So there we go, we're nearly done. There's always a little gap in these of that's under one bearing. I'll try to put another one in there, and I'm a bit loose just in the back here. Rightio. Okay, now we've got to line up my marks, which I've marked these on here, and they're marked on here as well. We're going to retract the bearing. We're going to retract. I'm going to get rid of a bit of that grease in here first. Transfer onto my nice painted surface. So as we drop it down, we push in the sides of the spare fingers, dropping down over the brakes wedges, drop him into position, presto, and they will pop back out in due course. No, they're not. Yeah, they're just out. I'm just not quite straight here. So there we go. Rightio, I'm going to bolt this up and I shall be back. Okay, we're all done. Everything is finished and I've done my preliminary checks. I'm going to show you it all working, and I'm going to show you all the final bits and pieces that I've done. First off, I didn't get to show you in the previous video with the controller, but I actually have now labelled the back of it. You probably can't see it, it's too much probably reflections, probably can't see it. So I've got all the labelling on here. It's a black on clear, it's probably not the best, it's a silver background, but it's not too bad. So you can see that, so that's all done. I'm supplying controller plug, which is a cinch plug, and a LTW plug for the rotator, controller, rotator. Okay, we have all the hardware for mounting the actual mast clamp and mounting the rotator. I haven't showed these before. This is the mast clamp, 10mm bolts on the U-bolts section. So this, I think I mentioned before, it's a new old stock one that I had repainted and whatnot. So there we go. So this is just basically a quickly show through. Audio. I've now got this all happening. I've put my labelling on the front of that. Everything's mounted in. I've labelled the bottom of it, which you probably can't see. And there's silver on black, black on silver on black, black on clear again. So basically what this is about, I'm just going to hook everything up and show you it all working, and move the stuff out of the road a bit. Let's move those across here. Let's see if we can line this up. Bring this down here, plug him in. Put my little test lead in. Plug him into here. Alright. Let's see. Well, I might move the mast lamp out of the road. I'll just chuck the mast lamp behind it. Okay. Righty-o. Okie dokie. Righty-o. Okay, let's make sure our power's on. Power is on. Righty-o. Let's turn him on. Oh, actually it was already on. Whoopsies. Didn't even set the lights on. Okie dokie. So we're all powered up, and probably if you look up in the top here, you can see the LEDs that illuminate the display. There we go. So I probably showed you this before in the when I showed you the running of the controller, so I won't do a major thing because I sort of did that in the other video. So basically, brake activation, 3-second delay. The LED is on now. There's the 3 seconds. So basically we'll do a quick left and right. The LEDs in the front here do not work in manual mode. So then 3-second delay for the brake, and then we go back the other way. Righty-o. And now we'll go into dial preset. We'll get that happening. Let that brake engage. So we'll dial up, just so we'll dial up west. Press the start button. Now as you'll see, the display will change colour. You probably saw this all before. Just bring this up to here, and the status LED will change colour from red through to orange or yellow, whatever it is, and then it will cut off the power 3 degrees before the setting, and then the brake will be engaged. I said it again, 3 degrees. So there you go. I'll try again. So it turns off 3 degrees before your destination, and then coasts, and then the brake is engaged 3 seconds after that. So the motor's cut off first, and then coasting. Well, these coast a fair bit because they're all ball bearing motors. So let's go back the other way. Let's just go back to east. So it jumps back, and you see that blue light on the other side's on. You see the just give it a light around. You can see the actual status light changing colour. There's so much light here, probably very hard to see. Then as it gets closer to the destination, 3 degrees before, the motor will be turned off, and then 3 seconds after that the brake will be engaged. So there we are, up to green now, it's nearly there. Motor just got turned off, and now the brake is engaged. There we go. We're going to bring it back to north again, park him at north. So there we go, a bit of a quick run through showing it all working. This one is now up for sale. Well, will be. I just got to do the manual for it, and basically it'll be done. So that's the next thing I'll be doing. So doing the manual and all the bits and pieces with the manual, and so there we go. So here we go. It's coming up to. There we go. Motor's turned off. There we go. And now the brake will be engaged. All good. Righty-howdy. We shall see you in the next project. Catch you later.